In this video, I want to talk about transforming the graph of a function by reflecting it over an axis. So this blue graph right here is f of x, and I want to graph f of negative x, and then I also want to graph negative f of x. So when I let's first look at graphing f of negative x. So to graph f of negative x, what we're going to do is you'll see that the negative is applied to the x values. And so what happens here is the negative is going to change all of the x values to be negative. So the y values are not going to change at all, but all of the x values are going to change to be negative. So in effect, what's going to happen is there's going to be a mirror image of this graph, and it's going to be reflected over the y-axis. So all of the x values are going to become their opposites. So everything that was a negative x value over here, right, these are negative x values, they're going to become positive x values over here, like this, and then like this, and it's going to be the mirror image and it's basically a reflection in the y-axis. And it's a reflection in the y-axis because all of the negative x values become positive x values, but the y values don't change at all. So you can see this should make sense though, because the negative is being applied to the x part of the function. And the y part of the function, which is the f of x, that part isn't changing at all. So there's nothing about the f of x that's changing, just the x is being changed to its negative. The negative is being applied to the x. So all of the x values are changing to their negative, but the y values aren't changing at all. Now the strange part is, or the thing that sounds opposite, is that graphing f of negative x is a reflection across the y-axis. So f of negative x is a reflection over the y-axis. But what really happens is all the x values become negative x, or become their opposites. If they're negative, they become positive. If they're positive, they become negative. Okay, so let's move on to this orange one, graph negative f of x. So now remember that y is equal to f of x, right? Y equals f of x. So when we're applying the negative sign to the whole function value here, to the entire function, that's going to change the y values. So that's going to change our y values here, and it's going to leave the x values alone. So when we take this function and we take all of the y values and make them negative, it's going to take this function and it's going to reflect it down so that all of the y values become negative where they were positive. That's not quite right here. I'm just doing this freehand, so you'll have to forgive me if it doesn't look perfect. I'll try to get it decent though. All right. That'll have to be good enough. So it's going to be a reflection so that all of the y values that were positive become negative, but all of the x values stay the same. So this is a reflection. Negative f of x is a reflection over the x-axis. But the easier thing to remember is that it takes all of the y values and makes them negative, and it takes all of the x values and leaves them alone. The f of negative x takes all of the x values and makes them their opposite, or makes them negative of what they were, and leaves all of the y values alone. You can also do this point by point. So you could take each individual point and look at its coordinates, and its coordinates will do the same thing. So suppose that the coordinates of this point are negative 4, 2. When we reflect it, when we graph f of negative x, this is going to change the x value only. So it would change the x value to be its opposite. So this would be 4, 2, but it wouldn't change the y value at all. When we graph the function y equals negative f of x, it would change the y value only. So it would change it to be negative 4, negative 2, changing only the y value to be its opposite, but leaving the x value alone. So that is how you transform the graph of a function by reflecting it over an axis.